All right, good morning, class. Welcome to another episode of Math with Mr. Young. Today, we're going to be working with 3.6 converting measurements. We're working with the metric system and the U.S. customary system. Our standard is 6th grade number sense A, and by the end of this lesson, we will be able to use ratio reasoning to convert units of measure. Our mathematical literacy, we have ratio units, converting measurements, metric system, and U.S. customary system. All right, with 3.6 converting measurements, our success criteria is that by the end of this lesson, you will be able to write conversion facts about unit rates, also to convert units of measurements using ratio tables, and to convert units of measurements using conversion factors, and lastly, to convert rates using conversion factors. Let's get started. All right, so for our key vocabulary words, I'm going to zoom in just a bit. So with the United States customary system, this is what we're used to here in the United States. This is the known standard system of measurement. And here are the some examples of the standard measurements and their equivalent units. So we have length. It's a distance measurement. How far is something? How long is something? Okay. So here we have 1,760 yards, abbreviated with YD. That is equivalent to 1 mile, abbreviated as MI. We have 3 feet, abbreviated as FT, and that's equivalent to 1 yard, abbreviated as YD. And we have 12 inches, abbreviated IN. That's equivalent to 1 foot, abbreviated FT. Next, we have the metric system. Now, most other countries around the world use the metric system. We also use the metric system here in science class. So for an example, we have length. Again, it's a distant measurement. So we have 10 millimeters, abbreviated mm. That's equivalent to 1 centimeter, cm. We have 100 centimeters, abbreviated cm. That's equivalent to 1 meter, abbreviated m. 1,000 meters, abbreviated m. That's equivalent to 1 kilometer, abbreviated km. Now again, the entire world pretty much uses the metric system. Now again, this is the base 10 system, and it's pretty easy to use. We'll go further into that. Okay, next on our vocabulary words, we have converting measurements. What does that mean? Well, sometimes when we want to change one type of measurement unit, such as inches, to another unit, such as feet, we call that converting measurements. All right, so for the U.S. customary system, in other words, the standard system, we have a length measurement, that's our distance. We have a weight measurement, that's how heavy something is. And we have capacity measures. Basically it's like how much water can the water bottle hold, all right? So again, just like what we went over with a distance, we have weight. So 1 pound, abbreviated LB, represents 16 ounces, equals a pound. 1 ton, abbreviated T, is equivalent to 2,000 pounds. Again, it's abbreviated LB for pounds. And just so we know, 8 ounces equals 1 cup. Okay? And again, ounces is abbreviated as OZ. Now for capacity, we have King George. He has, so King George, there's 4 queens. 2 princes or princesses to each queen, and each prince or princess has 2 cups or 2 cats. Okay, so with this equivalency, for 1 gallon, it's equivalent to 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts. 1 gallon is equivalent to 2, 4, 6, 8 pints. 1 gallon is equivalent to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 cups. Okay. Now again, a gallon is equivalent to 4 quarts. So gallons abbreviated as GAL, and 4 quarts is QT. 1 quart, QT, abbreviated, is equivalent to 2 pints, PT. 1 pint, abbreviated PT, is equivalent to 2 cups, C. 1 fluid ounce, OZ, is equivalent to 2 tablespoons, TBSP, is the abbreviation. And 1 tablespoon is going to be equivalent to 3 teaspoons. TSP is the abbreviation. And one more time, 1 cup is equivalent to 8 ounces. All right, so to continue with our conversions, and then we have the metric system. So again, I have a little ditty for you guys to remember. just remember King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. The K stands for kilo, the H stands for hecto, the D stands for deca, and then the U stands for a unit. The other D stands for deci, the C stands for centa, and the M stands for milli. Now you'll notice this staircase. Now milli is going to be the smallest value, and K, kilo, is going to be the largest value. Okay. Now again, under unit you have L, M, and G. The L stands for liters. That's your capacity measurement. Like for example, what is the capacity in liters of the amount of gallons of gasoline your vehicle can hold? What is the capacity in liters can your water bottle hold? Okay. And then we have M. That stands for meters. That's a distant measurement. How far, how wide, how long, how tall. Okay. So we want to know distant measurements. And then we have grams. G stands for grams, and that's a weight measurement. How heavy is an object? Okay. So again, let's pick the L. Let's pick liters. So it's going to start off like kiloliters, hectoliters, decaliters, liters, deciliters, centiliters, and milliliters. And if we're working with a distant measurement with meters, we're going to start off with kilometers or kilometers, hectometers, decameters, meters, decimeters, centimeters, and millimeters. Okay. And then lastly, for weight measurements, we have grams, kilograms, hectograms, decagrams, grams, decigrams, centigrams, and milligrams. And we're going to show you guys how to use this as we go forward. All right, so to begin with, the first example we're going to work with is how many quarts are there in 10 pints. So listen to two things. Now keep ratios in mind. Listen to the first quantity and listen to the second quantity. So we read that there are quarts is your first quantity, and we have pints. That's your second quantity. So again, it's going to be quarts to pints. Okay, so keep ratios in mind. Now, I'm going to put a variable Q for quarts to, and then pints. We know that there are 10 pints. Okay, so we're going to write an equal sign here. And then we're going to think to ourselves, we need a conversion. So we want to know if we're working with quarts and pints, that is going to be with the U.S. customary system. And with quarts and pints, we know that for 1 pint, there's going to be, with 1 quart, there's going to be 2 pints. So again, 1 quart is going to be equivalent to 2 pints. 1 pint and another pint. Okay, so one more time, what was mentioned first was that there is going to be 1 quart, and that is going to be equivalent to 2 pints. Okay, so let me write down the steps. The first thing we want to do is set up the problem. Now, when we set up the problem, we have to listen to ratios. So listen to ratios, first quantity and second quantity. Okay, so set it up. Now remember, the first quantity is always going to be your numerator. First quantity is always going to be the numerator when you set up as a fraction. The second quantity, the second thing that is mentioned, that is always going to be your denominator when you set up as a fraction. Okay. Now, after we set it up, what we're going to do next is the second step. That is to cross multiply. Okay. We're going to cross multiply. So by that, I mean that we're going to multiply 10 times 1 and Q times 2. So again, the Q stands for the unknown value. We don't know how many quarts are in 10 pints. So we're going to find that out by cross multiplying. All right, so 10 times 1 is going to be 10. So I'm going to write 10 here, but that's 10. Yep, so 10 there. And then I want to multiply 2 times q. Now 2 times q is going to be 2q, okay? 2q. Now again, if we go further into detail, this is known as a term. And a term, when we get more into that with algebraic equations, a term, you have a coefficient. And then, of course, the letter is called a variable. A variable represents an unknown value, okay? Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to have to divide. So that's your third step, is to divide. Divide on both sides, Okay? So in this case, we want to isolate the variable. Isolate means to get the variable q by itself. So we divide on both sides. Now, we're going to divide by 2 on both sides. Okay? Now, 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1. So what's going to be left behind is the q. Half of 10 is going to be 5. And our answer is going to be q equals 5. So in this sense, to answer the question, how many quarts are there in 10 pints? We're going to say there is 5 quarts in 10 pints. In other words, 5 quarts is going to be equivalent to 10 pints. All right. So if we were to show you on this, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts and we have a 5th quart, let me just get a blank one. If we have like a 5th quart, we're going to count all the p's, okay? So let's count all the p's for pints. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarts, we're counting the q's, is going to be equivalent to 10 pints. All right? So again, if you need to rewatch this as many times as you need to, please do that. Okay, so for our next problem, we have this question. How many centimeters are there in 2 kilometers? All right, so we want to know, does that belong in the U.S. customary system? Meters, centimeters, kilometers? No, the U.S. customary system does not have that. Rather, we have the metric system that does have meters, kilometers, all that great stuff. So with that being said, we're going to have to listen closely. So we're working with centimeters and kilometers, okay? So let's go ahead and do that ditty that I told you guys earlier. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, okay? And then go ahead and make your staircase. And all you got to do from here is just remember that K stands for kilo, H stands for hecto, D stands for deca. You have your unit, that's your kind of like your origin. And then you have your deci, centa, and milli. Now milli is the smallest item on this scale, and then kilo is the largest item on this scale. Okay, largest item on the scale. Now what we got to remember was that you have liters, which is for capacity. You have meters for a distant measure, and you have grams for a weight measurement. In this case, we're working with meters, centimeters, kilometers. So we're working with the unit measurement of meters. Now listen closely. Let's listen to what we do know. What do we know? We do know that we have 2 kilometers. So we have 2 kilometers, okay? Now what we want to know is how many centimeters are there. So we have 2 kilometers. We want to know how many centimeters there is because we don't know, okay? So we got to find this out, and we do that by looking at what we do know to get to where we need to know. So let's go ahead and count, and we're gonna and jump from step to step. So let's go. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going from kilo to centa. Again, kilo to centa. All right. So we move to the left we move to the right 5 times. Okay. So what that means is that 2 kilometers, we're gonna move that decimal point is always to the right side of that whole number. We're gonna move it to the right 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we annex zeros here. Okay. So that would reality be, so 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So let's go ahead and count these. Every third one, we're going to put a comma there. And then we're going to plug that in here. 5 zeros, put a comma there. So that means that in 2 kilometers, we have 200,000 centimeters. Okay. So how many centimeters are in 2 kilometers? There is 200,000 centimeters in 2 kilometers. Okay. Now, just listen closely. Anytime you move that decimal point to the right, when you move to the right, remember that you are multiplying. When you move it to the left, you are dividing. Okay. So one more time. When we move that decimal point 2, right down here, we multiplied by 10. We multiplied by 10 more. Multiplied by 10 more. Multiplied by 10 more. And multiplied by 10 more. So in this case, we multiplied by 10,000. 10 times 10 is 100. Times 10 more is 1,000. Okay, so on and so forth. But, there it is. So just so you know, and if we went to the left, we would be dividing by tens. Okay. So remember that the metric system is a base 10 system. Whether you're working with liters, meters, or grams, have fun with it. Okay. So I'm going to write this out real quick. The L stands for liters. And that's going to be a capacity measurement. The M stands for meters. And that's going to be a distance measure. The G stands for grams. And that is going to be a weight measurement. Okay, so hopefully this helps you. And again, if you need to re-watch this, please do so. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson about converting measurements. So please reach out to me if you need help. We can schedule a virtual tutoring session so we can go into this a bit further. So thank you guys and have a good day.